Uh, Thanks a lot for the kind introduction. Am I audible at the back? All right. Uh, Indeed, I think before I get on to the presentation, maybe I just thought I'll take another 2 minutes to introduce our company. I'm here for the first time with you guys and delighted to be here, Prem. DHFL Pramerica, as you know, as an asset management company, came into being in India in 2010. But last year was an important year for us, and maybe I just want to update you about that. Last year, we started the year with about 2,000 crores of assets, and then first quarter of last year, we did an acquisition. This is the largest acquisition ever in Indian mutual fund industry, which is the business of Deutsche Asset Management that we acquired. With that, our assets in March were about 18,000 crores, and as we speak now, thanks to your support over the period of time, it's now about 27,000 crores. So look forward to building it further with you, looking forward to your support to take it forward. Now coming to our topic, which is essentially managing other people's money. Up till now, of course, I saw the previous session was about technology and how it can ease your business or how it can support your business. This is about the softer aspect of maintaining the client trust, which is essentially your business, your profession and my profession. I won't call it a business. I'll call it probably profession because unlike business, in a profession you require a certain skill. Secondly, almost all the profession, whether you are a doctor, lawyer, chartered accountant, a money manager, or an individual financial advisor, all of them require you to put the client interest first. So our position in that sense is very similar. We are essentially, our business grows only if we are able to win the trust of the client. Easier said than done. It casts a certain amount of responsibility on you when you manage others' money. When you're managing your own money, frankly, you're not answerable to anybody else. You know what your risk tolerance is, and you know what you can do with your money. When you're managing other people's money, you need to be answerable to them. You need to be able to understand what their preferences are, and therefore the role becomes a little more challenging. Also, when you manage other people's money, you also have a bit of latitude. So some people could say that I can experiment at other people's money, I can lose money for others and learn. And that's what probably sometimes we start as research analysts or junior managers in the companies. We essentially experiment with clients' money, learn it, but of course, the firms have different levels of check to make sure that we don't really do too much of experimentation or we don't become too much adventurous. I'll tell you something from my own career, something which I learned early on and which still stands by me in trying to understand the differences between managing your own money versus managing client money. You know, sometimes when we are managing our own money, emotions come in the way. All of us will struggle booking losses on a stock where we are losing money. And we'll come up with lots of creative explanations that I don't need money right now. Maybe the stock will go up. Maybe it was a bad quarter. Maybe it will just come back. Sometime when I started my journey and when I was probably a junior fund manager about 4 or 5 years into the industry, one day I was sitting on my desk and my CIO walked by to my desk. He looked at me and he said, "Suresh, show me your portfolio statement." I took out my portfolio statement, he looked at it and he said, "Something terribly wrong with it." I took it back, looked at it and I said, "Doesn't seem like." He said, "No. There's something seriously wrong with the portfolio statement that you're getting." And then he pointed out, I looked at the portfolio statement, it had the usual columns, script name, cost price, market value, value of the investment, percentage of portfolio, typical holding statement that you'll have. He just looked at me and he said, "Why do you have cost column here?" I said, "So that I can know whether I'm making money or not in the stock." He posed a second question to me. "How does it matter?" I said, "Because I'm supposed to make money, I should know whether I'm making profit or not." He said, "No. I'm asking you again, how does it matter? The cost price of your stock is frankly a point somewhere in the long graph of that chart, long graph of that stock. How does it influence the future price movement?" And he indeed insisted at that very point. He called our operations department, our accounts department, and removed the cost column from my portfolio statement. Next few days, I really struggled because I did not have a reference point from where my stock stood at that point of time. but it helped me clarify my thinking as to what matters is going forward movement of the stock as opposed to where it came from. When you're managing your own money, when individuals are running their own money, that's the aspect sometimes that clouds our judgment. We just get so wedded to our cost of acquisition, which frankly means nothing from a future movement of that stock. What your focus should be is essentially on what goes ahead from now. It's similar to a surgeon. I think a surgeon will struggle to do an operation on himself, but in the other person's hand, probably that job can be executed a little better. It can be executed in a professional manner. And that's what you and I are expected to do when you are expected to manage money of others, is to run it professionally. When you're managing money, even before you start managing money, I think the first job is frankly to manage expectations. Here I'll just go back to one of India's oldest fund and probably most successful fund for a very long period of time that existed. You know, all of us have probably heard about US 64. This was the first mutual fund in India, came out in 1964. Hugely successful. Where does it stand today? The US 64 actually has been disbanded and has been made into new mutual fund regulations and has gone through a transition. US 64 actually was a very successful scheme for more than 30-35 years. There was only one problem. The scheme was claiming to deliver something else, whereas underlying portfolio was completely different. The scheme was bought by individuals and corporate alike, like a fixed income product, where the monthly repurchase price used to rise in a way that it will deliver 10 to 15% annualized return year after year after year. But the underlying portfolio was 70% equities. Nobody figured it out, nobody complained about it till the time markets were great. And once the market started declining, you had a big problem on your hand, government had to do a bailout. The learning from that, and that's how we probably on the mutual fund side or investment side have learned over a period of time, is essentially marry the portfolios with the underlying objectives. If you have that kind of a distance between the two, it's just not going to work. And I think over a period of time, the industry has started realizing that in the way we structure the products, in the way we position them, and in the way we manage them. So learning from UTI experience, of course, there has been mutual fund regulations which then clarified on how the product should be positioned and stuff like that. And as you have probably seen the evolution over the last 10, 15 years, it's gone even further. So when you looked back at about 10, 12 years back, there used to be only one bond product from a fund house called income fund. And now you have a variety of products, which is short, long, dynamic, credit. Sometimes you're confused as to what do all these do. But from a manufacturer's side, it is necessary to have some of those classifications simply because we are dealing with a large mass of people. Every single product that we make is bought by lakhs of investors across the country. Some of them may be small individual investors putting just 10,000 rupees. Some of them could be corporates putting in 10, 20, 25, 30, 50 crores. Whose expectation do you manage the product with? You don't have a uniform expectation probably of these people. So how do you manage it? You essentially define the objective of the product. You define the investment universe that you will be investing in. You define what the product can do. And then you manage according to it. Your messaging goes on to say that. That's no different compared to what you do. Essentially, when you are dealing with your client's money, you of course have first starting point is to understand the client's requirement. Secondly, then trying to figure out the product and solution towards it. And more importantly, the third point is to manage the client expectation early on. Tell him what we can deliver and prepare him for the journey ahead. If the client is not prepared for the volatility, if he's not prepared for his expectations from the products are not in line with what the product can deliver, you have a bad starting point, and then it's very difficult to come back. When we are looking at our industry, when we are looking at our structuring mutual funds, what we really tend to do is not only define what the product is going to do, but also put in processes to make sure the product does what we are claiming it to be doing. And then do it religiously month after month after month. Plan, execute, review. Plan, execute, review. It has to be done as a process, as opposed to just once in a while looking at it and then saying, oh, we need to do probably a course correction. It has to be done in line with the mandate of the product, which is where the mandate of the product comes in. So as the industry has evolved, you have seen equity funds being further getting classified into large cap, mid cap, multi cap and stuff, so that, and then most of the fund managers saying that we don't take cash call. Entirely because we want to tell people that this is what the product is expected to do, so that your expectation as a distributor or a client is aligned with what we are doing, and we are doing exactly what we are saying. Similarly, when you are dealing with clients' money, that is precisely what is required, to tell them exactly the way it is. And then, of course, identify the products and the solutions which are in line with the client's needs. So, essentially, your positions and our positions are quite similar in a certain way. We enjoy the trust of clients. We have the privilege of managing their money. But that also means that there is a certain sense of responsibility. So you put together not only the solutions or the products which are in line with the client, but also make sure that the client understands the way you understand them. There is no understanding gap. And then, of course, create a regular review system. When we do manage the product, essentially for every single product, the objective is essentially to define the corridors of the product. Give the leeway within that to the fund manager, of course, but at the same time review them, not only with the performance, but also whether they are sticking to the mandate of the product. Whether we have the capability in the first place to manage that product. Whether we can manage the amount of money that is coming in. Some of you would have seen that there are some asset managers who have said that no to taking money in certain products because somewhere or the other, there's probably not enough depth in the market. And that is essentially coming in from the fact that you want to do a good job for the people that you are doing it, and beyond that, you want to say that, sorry, we possibly can't do too much. So our roles are aligned to a certain degree. One final point I wanted to make was about the importance of our professions, or what is the client expectation? Why does the client come to financial advisors in the first place? And this is something based on the study done at our parent, which is Prudential's in USA, on investors over a period of time. I went to them last time around and I asked them one simple question. The direct investment has been there for a very long period of time. I wanted to know what's the impact of it on the distribution business and how many clients have migrated. I got a very simple answer. They said, interestingly, any segment of the market you look at, whether it is buying of furniture or it is buying of financial product, the behavior of the customer remains the same. What has been observed in that market is that about 25% of customers actually are DIY, do-it-yourself kind. They go to an IKEA furniture store, buy the knocked-down pieces, come home, put the nuts, bolts, and then say, hey, I got a sofa ready or I got a double bed ready. 75% of the people actually say, it's too much of a headache. Probably I'll get some scratches, I'll get injured, and therefore invite a mechanic. In mutual fund business also, there's about 25% people who go direct and 75% who use advisors. My questions to them was, why do people need advisor and what value does an advisor add? The answer from their experience was 3 points. Number one, the fact that you are putting money aside for savings or for a future goal requires a sacrifice of your current instant gratification, but pushes you to save for future. So it's essentially a future goal that you need to plan for which somebody needs to motivate you, therefore an advisor. Second was, a lot of people start direct. They start investing by themselves. But somewhere when the market turns, they are clueless as to how to handle it. At that point of time, no computer screen gives you comfort. No robo gives you a comfort. You actually need a human who can sit with you and tell you that it's fine, we have seen it before, and you can ride it. And this is how it plays out, kind of a thing. And the third, of course, is a lot of people believe, beyond a certain level of wealth, that my situation is unique, and therefore I need unique solutions. And therefore an IFA sits with them and designs those unique solutions. So all of us have this absolute power in our hand, the obligation, of course, that comes with money management, but an immense scope to add value to the client's portfolio. We sit in a similar situation from a fiduciary point of view, and our obligations are similar. I'm running out of time, so Prem is looking at me, but if you have any questions, I would like to answer that. But in the meanwhile, let's work together and serve the client's interest.